speaker today is Bruce Shelton. Bruce is our senior pastor. He's the head of our music ministry, and he's head of building and grounds. And we see him here every Sunday, and we might have an idea that we sort of know what Bruce does. But I can almost assure you, none of us know all the things that Bruce does for us at the fellowship. When an airplane is flying, it's not the wings that support it. It's the air above and below the wings that give it lift, the invisible air. Bruce is the wind beneath the wings at the fellowship. He's particularly helpful regarding the financial health of the fellowship, both in spirit and in substance. And that's the name of the game in the earth plane, spirit into substance, and Bruce is a master of both worlds. In fact, he's going to share some of that today. And finally, Bruce is a universal friend to whom any of us might turn for advice and counsel when we have no idea where to turn. So please welcome our friend, our brother, our teacher, Bruce Shelton.
Thanks, Lloyd. When she said Lloyd's going to introduce me, my heart jumped. I'm thinking, what's he going to say? That was very gentle. Thank you, Lloyd. If we could just have a few moments of silence, I'd ask everyone to kind of tune into Spirit and ask Spirit to just use me as a teacher today to tell you what can be of most help for you. So let's just all be quiet just for a few moments. Thank you. Amen. All right. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about a topic that's near and dear to all of our hearts, money, and our relationship with money, and what can we do to have a healthy relationship with money. Do you worry about money? Do you feel like maybe, it's just not enough? If I just had a little bit more, I'd be happy. Do you feel like, well, I've got enough today, but what about tomorrow? What if the Social Security system collapses? What if the stock market falls tomorrow? These are all thoughts that go through all of our minds. We all, at times, find ourselves worrying about money. So that's the purpose of this talk. What can we do? Is it possible to actually have a non-fear-based relationship with money? Is it possible to have a healthy relationship with money? So first of all, let's ask ourselves this question. What is money? Well, money is a convenient commodity that's been created by humans. It's been used in cultures around the world for thousands of years. It's a very effective way of exchanging goods. But money means more than just, the currency and the coins. It also represents all of materiality that we need for our sustenance, okay? So most things we need for our sustenance, our food, our housing, our transportation, and so forth, has a money value to it. So when we talk about having a healthy relationship with money, we're talking about having a healthy relationship with all physical things that we need in order to live on this earth plane. Now, the first spiritual teaching I would present to you today is given to us by St. Paul. You may remember St. Paul had this beautiful teaching. He said, the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, isn't that interesting? It's very important to look at the wording of this. He doesn't say money is the root of all evil, like a lot of people remember that part. He says the love of money. You see? It's a great teaching there. It's like when we fall in love with money, we're giving it too much power, all right? Anytime we give power to anything in our lives, be it money, be it relationships, our health, our jobs, anything, and we do this all the time. Like we put great importance. I've got to have that person like me, right? Anytime we do that, what we've done psychologically, in effect, and spiritually, is we've made a god out of out of that thing. We've made a god out of it. This is God with a little g. Anything we give power to, we're making a god out of it, okay? So when we give too much power to money, we are in effect making a god out of money. It's like we're taking a symbol, we'll use a dollar sign, and putting it on our altar, and we're falling down and worshiping it anytime we worry about money. Okay, is everybody with me? And you know, I love what Paul Solomon one time said. He said that worrying is meditating backwards. Isn't that cool? Worrying is meditating backwards. So not worrying is meditating forward. And of course, the way not to worry is to replace fear with love, because worry is all rooted in fear. Fear is simply the absence of love. So anytime we are worshiping money, we are in effect violating the first of the 10 Commandments, which says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." The truth is this: there's only one power, you see. We all know this deep down. There's only one power, you see. There are no 1,000 gods out there, even though we have all these fears of this and this and this and this, not just money, but other things as well. The truth is, when we can see beyond all this stuff out here and see beyond it and connect with God, everything else fades. All fear fades. There's only one power. So the whole teaching I'm presenting today, the most important thing I'm teaching today, is that once we get ourselves right with God, everything else will fall in place, including our financial situation. Until we're right with God, we have that connection, that communion. Until we do that, nothing is going to be, there's always going to be problems with something else, because there's always going to be fear. Does everybody hear me on that? Isn't that, I mean, we all agree, this is, I'm preaching to the choir here, but we need to always remind ourselves that there's really only one power. Now, one of the greatest, I think maybe the greatest teaching I've ever read about money is given to us by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew 5, he has this beautiful teachings about money, our relationship with materiality. And I'd like just to read to you part of that teaching. He says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life," right? There's that worry word, meditating backwards. "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Behold the birds of the air, they do not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" Consider what he's saying here. You know, we go out sometimes, and you ever seen these flocks of it seems like thousands of these blackbirds, just thousands, right? And then we all the time are seeing birds, though. You know, bird on the wire, just sitting on trees on wires. Isn't it amazing when you think about it that every single one of those birds will have enough money during the course of during their entire life, enough food, getting money and food mixed up, have enough food the rest every day, their duration of their life to take care of them. How is that possible? Every single one of those birds will have a meal. Now, it's true sometimes birds go through a period of time which the weather's bad and they, may go a few days without food, but they always have enough food, not just to survive, but to thrive. Not just birds, but all animals, okay? God takes care of them. If God's taking care of all of them, how much more is He going to take care of each one of us, who are His children? And Jesus says, "Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" What good does worry do? Worry is wasted energy. There's never been a single problem in the history of humanity that's been solved by worry. Okay? Worry is wasting our energy. And why do you worry about clothes? Consider the lilies of the field. And I love this beautiful painting here by Michael Podesta. Very good friend of mine, a wonderful painter. Why do you worry about clothes? Consider the lilies of the field. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his glory was ever arrayed like one of these. Therefore, if that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will He not much more clothe you, you of little faith? Jesus has got to get that kick in there, right? Are you paying attention? It's faith is the whole problem here. You guys don't have enough. Jesus is talking. You guys don't have enough faith. So do not worry, saying, "What shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear?" For everyone seems to run after all these things, and yet your heavenly Father knows. He knows we need. He knows what our needs are. But seek ye first the kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. There's that teaching. Seek God first. If we just can get that connection with God, everything else will fall in place, including our peace of mind. And the last verse, therefore, do not worry about your tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. Instead, focus upon today, the moment, and be with God. Okay? Be here now. It's a very common teaching today. We're all getting that, right? Jesus is saying, tomorrow, see, all of our worrying usually is about some future event. We're worried about what's going to happen. Am I going to have enough money tomorrow? You see? What about when I grow older? What am I going to do? Jesus is saying, stop it, Be here now. Live in the moment. Right today, there's enough on your plate. Let's focus on that, okay? And your needs will be met, providing you make that connection with God. Now, everybody in this room is listening to what I'm saying, and you're thinking, that's beautiful, Bruce. It is a beautiful teaching. But you know what? The truth is this. I've still got problems with money. Maybe I lost my job. I don't have money to pay my rent this weekend. It's due this weekend. I don't have money to pay my car payment. Let's get real here. This is all great talk, but what about the real world? The truth is, I've got financial problems, Bruce. You don't understand, Now, let's take a look at that type of thinking, okay? One of the biggest problem that causes us to have so many problems with money is we have conflicting thoughts in our mind. We have this primary thought, which is this, which is what I've been teaching and which everybody's agreeing with. I believe God is the source of all my needs and He will meet all my needs. I believe that. I believe that, right? We have that belief. The problem is this. We have in our subconscious mind a secondary belief. Some people call this a sponsoring thought. But we have this other belief rummaging around in our subconscious mind, saying words like this. Actually, I don't believe God will save me. I can't, from a rational standpoint, see how in the world I'm going to have money this Friday to pay my rent. It's just not going to happen. I'm in trouble and I really don't know what to do. So you see, we have these conflicting thoughts. Now, we don't ask for thoughts like that to come, but they just come. So we have these conflicting thoughts. Now, what does that conflicting thought do? What it does is it neutralizes the primary thought, which is God's the source of all my needs. That kills, when that thought is neutralized, what happens? My faith is neutralized. And Jesus said, "O ye of little faith." You see, faith is the key to the whole thing. We've got to believe in God. But we have all these thoughts conflicting within us, saying things are not going to work out. And all these thoughts create this primary negative emotion that we call fear. Okay? Now, what can we do about this? And this is the heart of my talk here. What we can do about this, I'd like to share with you a method that's worked for me all my life that works like magic, and that is tithing. Okay? Tithing 10% of the first fruits of my income to God and giving my money to that 10% to whoever I believe God would have me give that money to. Okay? That's my definition of tithing. Now, this is why tithing is so powerful. It's one thing to talk about, I believe in God, I know God's the source of all my income, I believe in prosperity consciousness. We can all use words like that, but this is the kicker. When we put our money on the table, it takes it to a whole new level. Because when I'm putting my 10% of my hard-earned money on the table and giving it away and saying, "Here, God, not only am I talking about how much I believe in you, but I'm actually giving you something to me that's very valuable, that I'd like to give to you with no strings attached, unconditionally." Okay? That's when I'm walking my talk instead of just talking my talk. That's what neutralizes that secondary thought there, that negative secondary thought that says this is not going to work. Because I'm not going to put money out unless I really believe that it's worthwhile. Does everybody hear that? So that's part of the power of tithing. That's one of the reasons tithing is so powerful. Now, so what I've been talking about so far has to do with just principles and teachings and so forth. I'd like to now share with you my personal experience with tithing. A personal testimonial, if you might like, if I can put it that way. When I was growing up, I grew up in Norfolk, and I used to attend a church in Norfolk called Talbot Park Baptist Church. It's still there, still doing well. Wonderful Baptist church. And it was really great for me. I went there between ages of 8 and 18 because it wasn't one of these real fundamentalist, fire and brimstone type Baptist churches. This church was moderate Baptist. All Baptist churches are conservative, but this was moderate conservative. And it was more on prayer and love. That was the focus. And we had this wonderful minister named Ernest Haunts, Dr. Haunts. He was my first spiritual teacher. And he's the first one that taught me and taught all of us at that church about tithing. Because if anybody knows about tithing, it's the Baptists, So I'm 9 years old, and I'm hearing for the first time about tithing. I'm thinking, that's great. I don't have any money. I don't have to worry about this right now. But then I turned 14, and I got my first job. Now I'm a newspaper boy, and I had a really neat newspaper route. I worked I delivered newspapers to all the patients at DePaul Hospital, and I went around room to room with newspaper. I sold the afternoon newspaper, the Ledger Star, and it sold for a nickel a newspaper. And the way it worked is for every nickel I collected, I got to keep a penny. Okay. So I'd sell about 85 to 100 newspapers every day, and I'd get some tips. At the end of the day, if you sell, say, 100 newspapers, and you're getting a penny a paper, it's not hard to do the math, is it? I'd make $1 a day. And I worked 6 days a week. So at the end of the week, I'd have $6. And a good week with tips, it might be $7 or $8, right? Now, Dr. Haunts is telling me that I need to give 10% of my hard-earned money, right? This is really hard-earned money, too. I work an hour, going to the entire hospital. It's 1962. I'm 14 years old. And he says, give 10%. So I'm thinking, now 10% of $8 is 80 cents a week. Now that means I have to give up that Coca-Cola I get at Ben Franklin 5 and 10 at Ward's Corner when I ride my bike there after school. This is a sacrifice, Dr. Haunts, But every year they have what they call Pledge Sunday, where everybody would be asked to write a pledge. This is how much I'm pledging to give Talbot Park Baptist Church every month in the coming year. So I did it, and I said I'm going to pledge to give 80 cents every week to Talbot Park Baptist Church, and I did that. Now, but to lead up to that, let me also say that another thing that caused me to make that decision, right, was I was going to Granby High School, and I took a course in biology, and they taught me about this method called the scientific method, and now all of science is based upon the scientific method. Whether it started with Galileo and it goes up to the current day with, huge studies being done on different new medications. All of science is based upon the scientific method. The scientific method reads like this. You make an hypothesis, and then you do a study. And you collect data. You put data that supports the hypothesis in this column, data that does not support the hypothesis in this column. And if you have a predominance of evidence that the hypothesis is valid, then you can conclude the hypothesis is valid. If the predominance of evidence is that the hypothesis is not valid, then you make a conclusion it's not valid. Okay? All of science is based upon this simple method, which is really cool, right? Now, I thought what I'm going to do is use the scientific method with tithing. This is what made the decision to do this, right? I didn't have to make that sign that pledge card. Nobody expected me at 14 years old to do that. But I said, I'm going to do a scientific experiment. And so for 3 months, I'm going to tithe 10% of my income to the church. And I did it. Now, this is what happened. It was an amazing thing. During that 3 months, even though I had 10% less to spend, for some reason I felt prosperous. Don't ask me why. I just felt prosperous. Okay? Now, after 3 months, I decided, okay, being a good scientist, let me see what it'd be like if I don't tithe. So I went for about a month or two, and I didn't tithe. Funny thing happened. For some reason, I felt shortages of money all the time, even though I had 10% more coming in. I just felt shortages of money. And then I started tithing again, and I can tell you with total honesty that from that point to today, I'm 68 years old now, I have tithed my entire life without ever, getting a rush on that, without ever not tithing, okay? And it's so, I got a rush because tithing is really has had such a powerful effect with me, you know. My entire life, I've never felt financial problems, okay? I've never really had what you'd call serious financial problems my entire life, and I've never really been rich. I've had, worked for the state of Virginia, lower level, never been an administrator, and I married this gal, Marty, and she is a nurse, and she was never high level, she was low level, but the point is, it's amazing. Low level financially. And so, my point is, we never made a lot of money, right? We weren't never making six figures, but we always had enough money to pay our bills and to be prosperous, okay? It's amazing how it works. Sometimes my credit card would get up to $6,000 or $7,000, $8,000, and I think, oh my God, I'll never pay this. And Marty would say, why are you doing this? You're not supposed to get, she doesn't ever believe in borrowing money, right? Why are you doing this? You'll never pay that off. Amazing. Always the money came in, and that's the way it worked. And I can tell you this, that today we are financially better off than we've ever been in our life. And I attribute this all to my faith in God. You see, I realize that God is the source of all my needs. And all I have to do is make that connection every day, which I do through prayer and meditation, to open that pipeline, so to speak. On our logo here, you'll see that bottom logo is a horn of plenty. Now you'll notice it looks kind of like a tunnel, see? And it's like, we want to keep the tunnel open. Now faith and love has the effect of opening the tunnel. And when the tunnel's open, everything, all our needs represented by all that food there, all our needs are met, okay? When we get lost in fear of something like money, guess what? What does fear do? It causes energy to contract. The tunnel closes. And we might be making money, but it's just not, doesn't seem like it's enough. You see what I'm saying? So, believing in God and putting God first, and actually putting money on the table, so to speak, that's the secret to the whole thing. You see, it's a whole new level when you're actually willing to tithe your money than when you just talk about it and just think about how great an idea is in God. Yeah, God's going to take care of me. Come on, God, give me some money, you see. An example of the way tithing has worked in Marty's life and my life was back in 1986. We had one of the members of our church, Maria Yaks, was having some real serious financial problems. She was raising 6 children all by herself, single parent. And the church became aware of it, and I, as a minister of the church, was asked by our board to go by and have just a meeting with her and let her know we were there for her. We wanted to help her, right? Just a normal ministerial visit. And I knew Maria real well, and we'd known each other for a few years. And it's a May day. We're sitting in the back of her, outside in beautiful forest back there. And as we're talking, I'm saying, the most wonderful thing's happening to me, Maria. I met this beautiful woman, and we're going to get married, and you were looking to buy a house, and just started looking. Hadn't even looked at any yet, but we got a realtor and everything. And Maria says, well, Bruce, the house next door is for sale. Financially, she hasn't gotten over that. She's still working on that. Yeah, I'm marrying this low-level nurse that doesn't have much money. We're trying to buy a house. We don't know where we're going to buy it. And so she says, this house next door is for sale. Well, guess what? You know, that's the house we bought. You know, I went and told Marty, I said, Marty, I found this house next door that's beautiful, you know. She says, Bruce Shelton, we're not going to buy the first house you saw. We're going to look at a bunch of them. Well, the next day on Sunday, she goes by and looks at it. Oh, I love this house, you know, and the 2 kids and so forth. But little marital side there. But this is the thing, see. I would never have found this house if I was not doing God's work, you see. And this is the way God takes care of us. This is the way God is taking care of this church. You know, since we, you know, going back to 1972, certainly going back to 1979 when we moved into this building, you know, we came here. There was like, we kept wondering, where's all the money going to come to pay the mortgage? We had a $900 mortgage, but you know, we're doing God's work in this church, and amazingly, we continue. You see, we always have enough money to pay our bills. We do our part. God does God's part. Okay? Isn't that wonderful how it works? Now, Paul Solomon had this beautiful teaching. It was you read it today, but let me just read it to you again. Know and know it well. The fellowship of the inner light will prosper abundantly when this fellowship takes responsibility to teach each individual member of this family the science of prosperity. That's what I'm doing today. For it is, in fact, an exact science, mathematically structured and mathematically certain. So that's another way to put it. It's based on law. You know, we give to God, and God meets our needs. There's that great teaching in Malachi that was also read this morning. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open to you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. That's a powerful teaching. This is the only teaching in the entire Bible where God tells us to test Him. Okay? Only teaching. Other places, you know, He says, "Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God." In this one, God's saying, test me. You know, just give a 10%, the first fruits of your income, to me, and I will give you so much that the windows of heaven will open and will pour forth blessings that there shall not be enough room to receive it. Okay? That's been my life. That's the story I just shared with you. That's exactly the way it's worked. Many years of experimentation with this now. Now, to close, I just wanted to present you with a challenge, okay? I'm going to challenge everybody in this room who is already not practicing tithing to challenge yourself to give for 90 days, 3 months, practice tithing, okay? And do it this as a scientific experiment. I'm going to, for the next 3 months, tithe 10% of my money to whoever I feel God would want me to give the money to. Now, be careful. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying give it all to this church. This is not a talk about making the fellowship rich. This is a talk about making you financially prosperous, okay? And making you have a healthy relationship with money. Give your money to whoever you feel God would have you give the money to. 10%. It's God's money, you know. It's not our money. So I'm going to say, and if you feel like giving to this church, of course, is doing God's work. I give a large part of my tithe, probably most of it, to this church, but I also give it to other organizations as well. So this is what I'm suggesting to you. Just for 90 days, try this. If you don't try it, how can you know if this hypothesis is true or not? And if you're having financial problems, that's when you need to tithe the most. Okay? That's when, and then what I'd like is for you to come back and tell me the results of your scientific experiment. We had a gentleman a few years back named John Christian, not the same John Christian that's in England, another John Christian who was on our board of directors, and he's a car salesman, just absolutely beautiful guy. And he heard me gave this talk similar to this on tithing probably 10 years ago. And he came back over and over the next 2 or 3 years talking about, he says, as soon as I started doing this tithing, he says, amazing things happened. Money came in from all sorts of directions that I wasn't expecting. And his financial situation improved dramatically. And this was his report even several years later after he had started doing this. So why not give it an experiment if you're not doing this already? Some of you are already tithing, okay? So that's my lesson to you today, and I hope that, thank you so much, you're good students. Amen.